In terms of diversity, land animals have nothing on sea creatures. In terms of complexity and diversity, sea creatures are undefeated. And plus, they're much weirder. Any creature you look at has its unique features. And of course, like land animals, there are plenty of predators that live in the waters. And the most famous one is the shark. And their job is the same exact thing. They hunt to survive. You might think the shark is the most powerful one, but that's not the case. Only 48% of the attempted kill is actually successful. So that means most of the times, meaning 52%, they don't catch the prey. We have another predator called the leopard seal, and this thing is 64% successful. But what we're looking for is the most successful predator in all of the oceans. And that means a creature where anything it attempts to catch, it does. If you've seen our videos before, you'll know that the most successful predator of all time is the dragonfly, where nearly 100% of the prey it tries to catch is successfully caught. But the most successful predator in the waters is this, the seahorse. It only resembles a horse just a little bit, but it has nothing to do with the actual horse. A seahorse is extremely stealthy, and any type of food that's confronted with the seahorse is gonna have a bad time. In all of the Earth's waters, there's 50 different types of seahorse, and they come as little as 2 centimeters, and they could be super giant and be as big as 35 centimeters. The kill rate of the seahorse does not reach the dragonfly, which holds a 100% record, but it's up there. And it can catch 90% of the prey it goes for. So it's 2 times more effective than a great white shark. Have you guys ever seen a chameleon eye, which looks like a very sophisticated camera lens? Well, the seahorse has the same style eyes, where it can move around. And these eyes allows the creature to watch out everywhere without moving its head. The seahorse has a very cool tail as well, which can get wrapped around stuff and hold on to. It doesn't need to swim to keep itself stable, and it could focus on catching food. You guys have seen other animals how they give birth or lay eggs. The seahorse is extremely weird in this case as well. The seahorse is the only creature where the female produces the eggs and pours it into the male's stomach, and the male is the one that gets pregnant. It's not a mammal, but the male gets pregnant, and when the babies are ready, they are born through the male. It's interesting because when the male receives the eggs, they're not fertilized yet. The sperm enters the egg and gets fertilized. When the male is ready to give birth to these newborns, it basically shoots them out of its stomach, and the newborns look exactly like a tiny seahorse. Based on the size of the seahorse, every 10 days to 6 weeks, a seahorse can give birth. And when it's giving birth, nearly 1,000 seahorse come out, but only 0.5% of them survive. Just like we said, the seahorse is the only creature in the world where the male gets pregnant and gives birth. And scientists are always looking at these creatures to figure out why that's the case and what happened for this to happen. So when you live in the wild and you're this small and this slow, you're gonna be in extreme dangers, right? Like for example, a crab has an extremely hard shell, and that allows it to survive because predators don't just pick it up and start eating it because of the hard shell, except humans where they can get around that shell. But unlike a crab, the seahorse has a very soft body, and when I say soft, I mean plastic-like, where it plays instead of break. Even though it has a complex bone structure, but the bones play with each other and open and close against each other. So if a creature bites it, it crushes, but then it goes back again to its original form. That is why in most attacks, the seahorse will stay alive, unless a predator bites the whole animal whole. One of the most interesting tails on an animal belongs to the seahorse as well. It has a very complex bone structure, but it could flex and turn in whichever direction the animal feels like it. Even though the seahorse has been living in the water all its life, but it's a terrible swimmer, and that's one of the reasons its tail has evolved the way it has, where it can stay stationary while the food comes to them. The only thing that allows it to swim steadily is this little flap you see on its back, and that is why it holds another record, the slowest fish in the water. You might say this is not a fish. Yes, seahorses are considered fishes, and they're under the Cygnethidae family. Let's look at the history of the seahorse. Compared to other creatures in the water, the history of the seahorse is very complicated and hard to understand. But scientists believe the ancestor of the seahorse was this creature, a creature called the pygmy pipe horse, and it lived on Earth about 25 million years ago. But it has evolved to the seahorse now. So the seahorse has been around here for about 25 million years. 25 million years might be very old, but compared to other creatures is not that much. Like a shark has been on Earth for more than 450 million years. The shark is one of the most ancient creatures in Earth's history, and it's still around to this day. Where do seahorses live anyway? You can find most seahorses living in shallow water, where there's a lot of plants and corals. So why do they live next to these? So it could hide itself and be more stealthy, just like a tiger, where it can stay in tall grass and surprise its prey. So a seahorse conceals itself with the surrounding so the other predators don't see it, and the prey can approach it without feeling risky. Another huge difference that the seahorse has and other creatures don't is that it doesn't have a stomach, and that means it's always hungry. So you could say it eats and it leaves its body from the other side in a few minutes, and it doesn't really hold it in its stomach so it can use the calories efficiently. So evolution has helped this creature to be able to hunt and be successful. If it wasn't a good hunter or a predator, it would have been extinct millions of years ago. Have you guys seen how an owl hunts? An extremely patient bird, it only waits, and when it's time to actually attack, it flies at the most quiet flight you've ever seen and catches the prey. The seahorse is kind of similar to the owl in this case. It's a very patient creature and it doesn't make any noise. It slowly creeps up to the food and all of a sudden it eats it. The way it catches the prey is amazing, and it's hard to believe that a living creature can snap its head like that. Scientists that study seahorses have come up with the idea that the way the muscles are set up in the neck and head area of this creature make it have a snapshot effect. It builds up the power inside the muscles and then it releases, allowing it to catch it extremely quickly. The most amount of food a seahorse eats, it's this, the cope pod. And the reason that the seahorse kind of resembles a horse is because throughout the years the nose has gotten longer and longer to make hunting easier. The creatures in the water are much weirder than the animals on land, but when you pay attention closely, you realize that every weird feature on these animals is something that helps them out, and there is always a reason behind it. The number one reason, of course, is survival and finding food. So if they didn't go through these weird changes, the chances of survival would be slim and they would have been extinct a long time ago, just like a lot of their family members. So when you see this creature, an animal that looks like a horse, that is very cute and weird, and it doesn't even know how to swim properly. But you have to know that the seahorse didn't evolve to be a good swimmer. It just wanted to find food and not be bothered. And that is why more than 90% of the prey it tries to catch is successful. On this map, you could see where you can find seahorses. Anywhere that's yellow, you can find them. Usually places where it's shallow. And as you can see, you can't find them in deep waters. And that includes lakes as well. Like the Caspian, you can't find these creatures.